Let me ask you something, and be truly honest with yourself, not with me. Have you ever reached a point where every fiber of your being just wanted to give up? I mean, genuinely wanted to walk away, close that chapter, disappear, or simply stop trying because it felt like no one noticed. Nothing was changing, and that little voice inside your head whispered, maybe this just isn't meant for me. Yes, that moment. I know you felt it. And if you haven't yet, trust me, you will. Because if you're pursuing anything that truly matters, that moment is coming for you. Most people mistakenly believe that talent, or luck, separates those who succeed from those who don't. But that's not it at all. It's what you do in that moment when you're utterly exhausted, repeatedly rejected, riddled with self-doubt, and absolutely nothing seems to be working. That moment is a fork in the road. One path leads to greatness, the other to regret. And sadly, most people quietly take the second road. No grand announcement, no dramatic exit. They simply and slowly back away from their own potential. They shrink, they settle. But not you. Not today. You're here for a reason, not by accident or out of boredom. Something deep inside you is searching for permission, for proof, for a signal that says keep going. A sign that you're not crazy for still believing in yourself, even when the world told you to stop, even when life tried to knock the fight right out of you. Let me be direct. You don't need permission. You need truth. And the truth is this. You are absolutely allowed to struggle. You're allowed to be tired. You're allowed to experience setbacks, shed tears, have bad days, and wrestle with doubts. But what you are not allowed to do is give up. Because every single time you choose not to quit, every time you rise when it would have been so much easier to stay down, you transform into someone unbreakable. So, let that sink in, and let's talk about what it truly takes to persist, even when giving up feels like your only option. Pain? Your toughest instructor. Everyone talks about success as this glamorous destination. The spotlight, the applause, the achievements neatly stacked like trophies. But what they conveniently don't show you, the part they edit out, is the pain, the bruises, the breakdowns, and those lonely nights spent wondering if all this struggle is even worth it. That's the part no one wants to discuss. Yet it's the part that truly shapes you. Pain is not the enemy. It's the instructor. It's the kind of teacher who doesn't just hand you a lesson. It carves it into your very bones. It's the coach who never coddles you, never sugarcoats anything, and yet teaches you more about who you are than any book, course, or motivational quote ever could. Most people run from pain. The moment something gets difficult, they pull back. The instant life stops being comfortable, they ask, why me? But what if a better question is, what is this trying to teach me? Every painful moment you've endured didn't come to destroy you. It came to develop you. Think about it. What has shaped you the most in life? Was it the easy wins, the applause? Or was it that time you failed so hard you could barely look at yourself? Was it the heartbreak that made you question your worth? The betrayal that knocked the air out of your lungs? The loss that made everything go quiet? Pain strips away your illusions. It doesn't care about your ego. It removes the fluff. When you're in pain, the mask comes off. You stop pretending. You stop performing. What's left is you raw, real, and exposed. That's where the real work begins. When you train in pain, you grow. Every time you push through discomfort, you're rewiring your brain to handle pressure. You're building emotional armor. And no, this doesn't mean becoming cold or detached. It means becoming resilient. Resilience isn't about not feeling. It's about not breaking. Here's a truth most people don't want to accept. Pain is a test, not a punishment. A test of how badly you want it. A test of how deep your roots are. A test of whether you'll keep showing up when it's inconvenient, when no one is clapping, when the finish line is nowhere in sight. That's why pain is so powerful. It introduces you to yourself. It says, okay, you claimed you want this. Let's see how much. Let's see if you're willing to walk through the fire, or if you were just talking. Because that's what pain is. It's fire. It burns away what's weak, what's fake, what doesn't belong. And yes, it hurts. But on the other side of that pain is a version of you that's sharper, smarter, and stronger. Someone who doesn't fold under pressure. Someone who doesn't need things to be perfect to keep moving forward. Let's be brutally honest. Growth hurts. That's why so few people pursue it. That's why mediocrity is so common. It's not because people aren't capable. It's because they can't handle what comes with the process. They want the transformation without the suffering. But it simply doesn't work that way. You don't get strong by staying safe. You get strong by showing up to the hard days, over and over again. And when you've been through real pain, when you've had to fight for every single inch, you stop fearing challenges, because you already know what you're made of. You've already been through worse. That kind of confidence doesn't come from a YouTube video or an Instagram quote. It comes from enduring, from standing in the middle of your storm and confidently saying, I'm still here. You begin to look at setbacks differently. You start saying, okay, this hurts, but what can I learn here? What is this moment trying to reveal to me? And the moment you flip that switch, the pain stops controlling you. It starts empowering you. You don't have to like pain to respect it. You don't have to enjoy it to use it. But you do have to face it. You have to look it in the eye and stop letting it run your life. Because when you run from pain, you're also running from your power. You're avoiding the very thing that's trying to build you. Nobody becomes exceptional by staying comfortable. Every champion, every leader, every fighter has bled for it. They've lost. They've failed. They've cried, but they didn't give up. They used the pain. They learned from it. They grew because of it. So, maybe the next time life knocks you flat on your back, instead of asking why, you start saying thank you. Not because the pain feels good. It doesn't. But because somewhere deep down, you know this is where you become dangerous. This is where you become different. This is where you become you. Remember, the pain you're feeling right now, it's temporary. But what it can forge in you, that can last a lifetime. Mind over emotion. The power of mental toughness. Let me tell you something most people don't understand until it's too late. Your mind is your greatest weapon, not your physical strength, not your resources, not even your connections. It's the way you think, the way you respond under pressure, the way you manage fear, failure, and uncertainty. That is what truly separates the strong from the weak, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. And here's the truth nobody wants to admit. Most people don't train their minds. They train their bodies. They chase motivation. They memorize quotes. But when life gets real, when it gets hard, when things fall apart, when nothing goes according to plan, those things don't save you. The only thing that saves you is your mental discipline. When you walk into any situation, whether it's a new job, a relationship, a crisis, or a dream you're chasing, your mindset is your armor. And if that armor is weak, you break, you fold, you self-destruct. Not because you weren't talented, not because you didn't have potential, but because you weren't mentally prepared. Most people have never taken the time to truly study themselves. They don't know how they react when they're stressed. They don't understand their fears. They don't know how to talk themselves down from panic, how to push through mental fatigue, how to stay focused when distractions are screaming for their attention. And then they wonder why they can't hold it together, why they lose momentum, why they give up the second it gets uncomfortable. Let me be clear. You don't rise to the occasion. You fall to the level of your training. So, if you haven't trained your mind, you're not going anywhere when it matters most. So, what does training your mind even look like? It starts with awareness. You have to become the observer of your own thoughts. What stories are you telling yourself every day? Are you feeding yourself doubt, fear, comparison? Or are you choosing thoughts that sharpen you, that make you resilient, focused, and grounded? Because your brain believes whatever you tell it. And if you're constantly talking to yourself like a victim, don't be surprised when you live like one. You need to become ruthless about what you allow into your mind. That absolutely includes the way you speak to yourself. Most people lose the battle before it even begins because they've already convinced themselves they're not good enough, that they can't, that it's too hard, that other people have something they don't. Do you think champions don't hear that voice? Do you think high performers don't feel fear or insecurity? They absolutely do. The difference is, They don't let that voice lead. They override it. They respond to it. They say, "Thank you for showing up, fear, but you're not in charge here." The mind is a battlefield, and if you don't take control of it, something else will. Your fear, your past, your pain, the opinions of others. You have to decide who is in charge up there. Is it you, or is it your excuses? Mental toughness doesn't mean you never feel anything. It means you feel it, but you don't let it stop you. It means you're scared, but you still move. It means you're tired, but you still show up. It means you're tempted to quit, but you keep going. Start paying attention to how you react under pressure. Do you panic? Do you procrastinate? Do you shut down? Or do you breathe, recenter, and handle what's in front of you? If you don't like your answer, good. That's where the work begins. And understand this. It's not about becoming robotic. This isn't about ignoring your emotions or pretending you're invincible. This is about learning to master your emotions so they don't master you. You want clarity amidst chaos. Train your mind. You want to stop overthinking every little thing. Train your mind. You want to stop being ruled by fear, doubt, and insecurity. Train your mind. Visualization, daily reflection, journaling, cold exposure, emotional regulation exercises, strategic breathing, silence, control over reactivity. These aren't soft skills. These are elite skills. These are required if you're going to survive the pressure of a real fight. Whether that fight is on the street, in a hospital, in a courtroom, or in your own home. And let's talk about fear. Because fear is the number one thing that hijacks people's minds. Fear of failing, fear of being seen, fear of being wrong, and most of all, fear of not being enough. But here's the thing. Fear is not truth. It's a signal. It's your brain doing what it was designed to do. Keep you safe. But safe doesn't always mean right. Safe doesn't mean growth. Safe means familiar. And if you keep choosing familiarity over progress, you'll live your whole life inside a box you were meant to break. You have to get comfortable with discomfort. You have to choose challenge on purpose. You have to expose yourself to the hard stuff. Not because you're trying to prove something to others, but because you're proving to yourself what you can handle. That's how confidence is built, not through words, but through evidence. Every time you do something hard, something you didn't think you could do, your brain takes note. It says, "We can do this. We don't quit. We finish what we start." And that identity compounds. But it all starts up here. You can't build a strong life on a weak mind. You can't live an extraordinary life thinking like an average person. You can't handle pressure if you've only trained for comfort. So, sharpen your mind. Read more. Sit in silence more. Say no to more things that drain you. Practice stillness. Practice facing your fears on purpose. Because in the end, it's not your situation that determines your success. It's your response to it. And your response is only as strong as your mindset. The mind is your weapon. Most people are walking around with it, rusted, dull, and completely out of shape. Don't be one of them. Sharpen it, train it, guard it, use it. Because one day you'll find yourself in a moment where it's not your body, your talent, or your luck that gets you through. It will be your mind. How to handle setbacks without quitting. Rejection stings. Setbacks frustrate. Doubt creeps in when you least expect it, whispering in your ear when you're already tired, already vulnerable. It tells you, maybe this isn't for you. Maybe you should quit. Maybe they're right. Maybe you're not enough. And if you're not careful, you start believing it. You start shrinking. You start playing small. But here's the truth. Those moments of rejection, of failure, of brutal self-doubt, they're not curses. They're tests. They're signals. They're invitations to level up. Not in theory, not in some cute motivational post way, but in reality. If you've ever been told no when you gave it your all, if you've ever watched someone else get the opportunity you desperately wanted, if you've ever failed publicly, embarrassed and wondering how you're going to recover, good. That means you're in the game. That means you're showing up. That means you're taking the kind of risks most people are too scared to take. And those kinds of risks are absolutely required if you're going to grow. Rejection is not the end of your story. It's feedback. It's resistance. It's life pressing against you, not to stop you, but to make sure you really want it. People think they're ready until they get their first no. Until the door gets slammed in their face. Until someone they trusted disappoints them. And then, what do? They take it personally. They back off. They let that moment decide who they are. But what if rejection isn't personal? What if it's directional? What if it's simply the path shifting, rerouting you, asking you, do you want this bad enough to go again? Because you don't get stronger without resistance. You don't get sharper without pressure. And you don't get better without failure. No one who ever did anything worth remembering got there without being told. You can't. You won't. This isn't for you. Rejection forces you to find something within yourself that no one can hand you. Grit. It makes you dig deeper than you thought you could. It strips away entitlement. It makes you resourceful. It wakes you up to the reality that you're not owed anything. Not success, not recognition, not fairness. But that doesn't mean you give up. That means you learn how to fight differently. And let's talk about setbacks. The loss, the detour, the failure that felt like a punch to the gut. That moment when you were doing everything right. Working hard, staying focused. And life still blindsided you. You didn't see it coming. And now you're stuck wondering what it all meant. Setbacks are hard, but they're not stop signs. They are recalibrations. You thought the path was straight. It's not. Nothing great is linear. Nothing worth having comes without struggle. A setback doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're becoming built. If you never had to fall, how would you learn to rise? If you never had to struggle, how would you build resilience? The problem is most people view setbacks as proof they're not enough. But people who grow see them as training. They say, okay, this hurt. This wasn't part of the plan. But what can I take from this? What skill did I just earn? What truth did I just uncover? Because every time you face a setback and choose not to retreat, you're evolving. You're shedding the weaker version of yourself and stepping into something stronger. Not louder, not flashier, but stronger in that quiet, deep way. The kind of strength that shows up when everything's on the line. And then there's doubt. That quiet destroyer. That inner voice that pretends to protect you, but only limits you. What if I'm not good enough? What if I fail again? What if they laugh? Doubt waits in the corner, especially after you've been knocked down. It loves the moments you're vulnerable, uncertain, in transition. But here's what most people don't realize. Doubt doesn't have to be your enemy. Doubt can be your fuel. That voice in your head, it's not truth. It's noise. And the more you expose yourself to challenge, the quieter that voice becomes. Not because you've eliminated fear, but because you've built evidence against it. You've stacked up too many wins. You've learned to speak louder than your doubt. You've learned how to move through it, not around it. You want to stop doubting yourself. Then do the hard thing anyway. Make the call. Apply again. Stand back up. Try one more time. Doubt doesn't go away with time. It goes away with action. You don't need to feel ready. You just need to move. Because every rejection, every failure, every whisper of doubt is a fork in the road. You can choose to give in, to play small, to prove your inner critic right. Or you can choose to rise, to reframe, to evolve. You level up by choosing the hard path over and over again. Not for applause, but for growth. You level up when you're willing to be bad at something long enough to get good. When you stop needing external validation and start focusing on internal mastery. When you stop asking, will they like me? And start asking, will I respect myself if I quit now? You're not weak because you've been rejected. You're not broken because you've failed. You're not lost because you've doubted yourself. You are in the process. And the process doesn't lie. The process reveals. It reveals who's willing to keep showing up when the shine wears off. Who's willing to keep moving forward when the noise gets loud and the road gets long. Rejection is not your enemy. Setbacks are not curses. Doubt is not final. All of them are invitations, quiet, powerful invitations for you to grow, stretch, and rise into the person you were meant to become. Don't run from them. Don't resent them. Answer them. The discipline to keep going. Motivation feels good, doesn't it? It's electric. It gives you that rush of inspiration, the belief that you can do anything. It gets your heart pumping and your vision clear. You hear the right song, the right quote, the right video, and suddenly you're ready to take on the world. But here's the problem. Motivation fades. It's unreliable. It comes and goes like a breeze. You can't predict when it'll show up, and you can't depend on it to stay. That's why, if you build your life, your goals, your transformation around motivation, you've already lost. Because there are going to be days when you simply don't feel like it. When the excitement's gone. When the vision feels blurry and the work feels heavy. When you're tired, distracted, discouraged. What then? Do you wait until you feel motivated again? That's what average people do. That's what most people do. But if you're aiming for something real, something extraordinary, you need something far more powerful than motivation. You need discipline. Discipline is the choice you make after motivation has left the room. It's doing what needs to be done, especially when you don't feel like it. It's getting up early when the bed is warm, showing up to the gym when you're sore, studying the extra hour when your brain screams for rest, saying no to distractions when everything around you is built to steal your focus. Discipline doesn't care about your mood. It doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't wait for perfect timing. It just shows up again and again, quietly, without applause, without hype. That's why it's powerful. Because it's not emotional. It's built on commitment, not convenience. The people who build great things, great bodies, great businesses, great lives, they aren't riding a wave of motivation every single day. Most of the time, they don't feel like doing the work. But they do it anyway. Why? Because they've decided that how they feel doesn't get to make the decision. Their standards do. See, most people are reactive. They operate only when they're motivated. So, their results are inconsistent. Their mindset is fragile. They do the work one day, then take 3 days off. They start fast, burn bright, and disappear over and over again. And they call it burnout, or bad luck, or a lack of support. But what it really is a lack of discipline. Discipline doesn't give you instant gratification. It's not sexy. It's not fun. It doesn't offer quick wins. What it does offer is growth. Real growth. The kind that lasts. The kind that builds habits so solid, they hold you up even on your worst days. You want results? Show up when you're not motivated. You want progress? Stop negotiating with yourself every morning. You want to be respected by others, but most importantly by yourself. Then keep your word. Do what you said you'd do long after the mood you set it in has passed. Discipline is keeping the promise you made to yourself. And here's the kicker. Discipline is a skill. You're not born with it. It's trained, which means you have no excuse. You can build discipline the same way you build strength, endurance, or knowledge. You practice it, You challenge it. You push through small moments of resistance. And over time, it becomes who you are. Start small. Set one non-negotiable. Wake up at a certain time. Do one hard thing before breakfast. Keep a daily commitment to move your body, feed your mind, or improve your craft. And never miss twice. Discipline compounds. The more you follow through, the easier it gets. Not because the work gets easier, but because you get stronger. And don't confuse discipline with perfection. You're going to slip. You're going to have moments where you fall short. That doesn't mean you failed. That's part of it. The question is, do you stay down, or do you get up and return to your routine like a professional? Amateurs wait to feel ready. Professionals show up no matter what. You want to change your life? Then you need to act like a professional. And that means building a structure that doesn't bend every time your emotions do. That means having systems, boundaries, routines. That means saying no to short-term pleasure for long-term gain. Not because you hate pleasure, but because you've tasted something better. Growth. Discipline gives you freedom. That's the part most people don't see. They think structure is restrictive. Real structure liberates you. When you've trained your mind and body to follow through, you're not a prisoner to your mood anymore. You're not dependent on external circumstances. You become self-led, and that's rare. That's powerful. Motivation might get you started, but it will never take you to the finish line. That belongs to discipline. That belongs to the you who does the work when no one's watching. When it's hard, when it's boring, when you're tempted to quit. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you're proving something to yourself. You're proving that you're not driven by impulse. You're not owned by laziness. You're not at the mercy of your excuses. You're in control. And once you know that about yourself, once you realize you can count on you, everything changes. So, the next time motivation fades, and it will, don't panic. Don't wait. Don't search for another feel-good video or a perfect quote. Just go do the thing, quietly, relentlessly, repeatedly. Because that's how greatness is built. Not with hype, not with hope, but with discipline. Rebuild yourself stronger than before you've been told to stay in line, to be realistic, to not ask for too much, not take up too much space, not dream too big. Since the moment you could think for yourself, the world has handed you quiet limitations disguised as advice, caution, even love. Play it safe. Don't get your hopes up. Not everyone makes it. And at some point, you started believing it. Not all at once. Slowly, you started second. Guessing your ideas, shrinking your voice, editing your dreams. You traded boldness for approval. Replaced action with hesitation. You let fear disguise itself as logic. And over time, you forgot what you were made of. But here's the truth. You are more powerful than you've been told. Your strength didn't disappear. It's not gone. It's just buried. Buried under layers of expectation, disappointment, trauma, judgment, and repetition. And if no one's ever told you this before, let me say it clearly now. You don't need permission to take it back. You don't need validation to rise. That power, your power, has always been yours. You just stopped using it. You've got instincts you've ignored for too long. That voice inside you, the one that pulls you towards something bigger. It's not lying. It's not random. That's the real you trying to break through the noise. But you've drowned it out with fear, with overthinking, with all the stories someone else planted in your head. You think power is about being the loudest in the room? No. Real power is quiet. It's steady. It's when you know who you are, especially when no one's clapping. It's when you can walk away from what doesn't serve you without needing to explain yourself. It's when you choose growth over comfort, again and again. You want to know how powerful you really are. Look at what you've already survived. Look at the things that tried to break you emotionally, physically, mentally, and didn't. Look at how you've adapted. At the fact that you're still here, still curious, still wanting something better. That's not weakness. That's strength in its rawest form. Most people don't even realize the cage they're living in, because it's made of invisible bars. Beliefs, fears, opinions, rules they never agreed to. And the only way out is to question everything. To stop assuming that what you've been told is the limit of what's possible. Because the truth is, people will only ever reflect their limitations onto you. They'll project their fears, their failures, their regrets. And if you're not careful, you'll wear their fear like a second skin. But you don't have to. You can strip it off. You can decide right now that your potential isn't up for debate. That your capacity is bigger than what anyone else sees. You can start acting like the most powerful version of yourself, even if you don't fully believe it yet. Because that's how belief works. It grows with action. You don't wait until you feel powerful. You act powerful, and the confidence catches up. You think courage feels good. It doesn't. Not at first. Courage feels like shaking hands, a pounding heart, a dry throat. Courage is uncomfortable. Courage is lonely. Courage is the moment you step forward, while everyone else stays back. But it's also the moment everything begins to change. You don't need to be fearless. You need to stop waiting for fear to leave. It won't. Power is not the absence of fear. It's the refusal to let fear decide who you become. You want to see how powerful you are. Start doing the thing you keep putting off. Have the hard conversation. Make the scary decision. Stop trying to be liked, and start trying to be real. That's power. Choosing authenticity over approval. Stop apologizing for being ambitious. Stop diluting yourself to make others comfortable. Stop pretending you're less capable than you are just so you don't intimidate someone else. Shrinking doesn't serve anyone. Not you, and not the world. You were not built to be small. You were built to expand, to evolve, to lead, to create, to challenge, to rise. But you cannot do that if you're still operating from old programming. You have to rewire your beliefs. Train your mind to stop asking, "Can I do this?" and start saying, "How can I do this?" That shift alone changes everything. Your job isn't to be perfect. It's not to have all the answers. Your job is to show up, to take responsibility, to use the power you've always had, but maybe forgot. Your words, your presence, your energy carry weight, but only if you own them. Only if you stop hiding. And yes, some people will be uncomfortable with your growth. Some people will misunderstand you. Some will judge you. Let them. That's their story, not yours. Your power isn't up for a vote. So, take the risk. Make the move. Raise the standard. Say the thing. Be bold enough to bet on yourself. Even when you're scared. Even when it's unpopular. Even when it would be easier to sit down and play small. Because here's what no one tells you. Most people don't reach their potential. Not because they didn't have it, but because they never tried to find it. They listen to the world instead of listening to themselves. But you're done with that. You don't need to become someone else to be powerful. You need to remember who you were before the world made you forget. Before fear took over. Before you gave up parts of yourself just to fit in. You are more powerful than you've been told. You always have been. And the moment you start acting like it, everything changes. Final message. Never, ever give up. Everything you've ever needed has always been within you. Not in some vague motivational cliché, but in real, tangible truth. The discipline, the strength, the resilience, the fire. It's all there, waiting to be used. Not when the timing is perfect, not when life is easier, but now. Stop waiting. Stop asking for permission. Stop shrinking into the version of yourself that makes others comfortable. The world doesn't need more people playing it safe. It needs people willing to rise. People willing to bleed for what they believe in. People who refuse to back down, not because it's easy, but because they made a decision that they would not be ordinary. You don't have to feel ready. You just have to be committed. You don't need to know exactly how you'll get there. You just need to start walking. One step, one choice, one promise kept at a time. And when motivation fades, and it will, you fall back on your discipline. When doubt speaks, you answer with action. When fear whispers, you keep going anyway. You are not here to merely survive. You are here to lead, to fight, to create, to leave something behind that matters. So, don't give up. Not now, not ever. Because the only way you lose is if you quit. And you didn't come this far just to break. You came this far to break through. What's one small action you can take right now to honor the powerful person you are becoming?